Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my first impressions look on the New Balance Two Wxy V5. So the two-way line has been amazing from New Balance, and if you didn't know, players like Jamal Murray have been playing in this shoe, and the 2Wxy V4, this shoe is a really nice solid performer, and the V3 was one of my favorite hoop shoes of that year, an amazing performer, and it's only 120 bucks, which is pretty dang nice. New Balance, I feel like, has been very quiet, you know what I mean, but they've been releasing really amazing performing hoop shoes for a pretty dang good price. Besides the Kawhi 4, the Kawhi line is always like 160 bucks, which is pretty dang expensive, but still a great performer. But yeah, like I just said, the V4 and also the V5 retails for $120, which is a very good price, especially for the tech that you're getting. And there are a lot of colorways available, and I'm very sad I got this colorway because I really don't like it. And right after I got this, like I think a couple of days later, some other colorways came out, like the basic kind of like team colorways, and then like the other one is like a black and red one, I think, with the white midsole. I didn't really like the white midsole, so I got this colorway, but it's yeah. But I do like the overall design, right? So if you guys do want to cop, I'll try to leave in the free link in the description box if you do choose to get this shoe or the 2Wxy V4, and this shoe is on sale for like 100 bucks or 90 bucks. I'll try to leave in the free link in the description box if you do choose to get either of these shoes. It does help me out if you buy from the free link in the description box or the pictures underneath this video, or I try to leave a link right over here. And as always, thank you guys so much for all the support. But let's get it started off with the Traction. So the Traction is very similar to the Fresh Foam BB V2. It's kind of like this honeycomb design with these like circular hexagons almost, kinda, you know what I mean? Especially here in the forefoot, right? And it's a different colored outsole. We have this kind of like hot pink color right here in the heel too, and then around the outsole with this kind of like wavy herringbone traction pattern. Is this like lighter pink color? I don't, what is this more hot pink or a little bit more lavender? I don't know, but either way, how does the Traction feel? The Traction feels freaking phenomenal, guys. And just trying it on my wood floors, there's a really nice stop and also a very nice loud high-pitched squeak, which of course has nothing to do with performance, but for all the hoopers that like to have a very nice loud high-pitched squeak, the V5 has got you covered. I mean, it's so dang loud, which is very opposite of the V4. The V4 was pretty dang silent. Once you broke it in, got a little bit squeakier, but it wasn't super loud. But the V5, they changed up the rubber compound and it's a lot louder. And obviously, of course, if it squeaks, that doesn't determine if it has a good stop or not. But you know, I like to have a nice loud high-pitched squeak, which the V5 does have. And yeah, so I'm very excited to try these out because of the amazing traction. And as far as the durability goes, I feel like the durability will be okay. The rubber isn't super hard. It's actually kind of pliable, and I think that's because the rubber does come up and is pretty deep, and also the grooves are pretty thin, but it doesn't feel super soft. It doesn't feel like it'll rip off very quickly, so I feel like it'll be okay for outdoor use. So the Traction's feeling really good so far. And now moving on to the heel to toe transition, it feels very smooth, right? So here in the heel, we have a very nice curved shape as well as pretty much a fully exposed midsole, right? Nothing's caged too much. I mean, the rubber outsole comes out to cage the midsole a little bit, but it's still very soft here in the heel. It doesn't feel boot-like or clunky at all. So that's nice in the heel. And then coming here into the forefoot, we have a nice rocker shape as well. So just from the overall shape, it has a very nice smooth feel to it, which of course is great for, you know, running down the court, especially if you're doing heel dominant strides. And also here in the forefoot, we have a good amount of forefoot flex. It's actually pretty dang flexible and kind of easy to flex. It's not super easy. There is a little bit of tension there and also a little bit of rebound back. It doesn't feel super springy, however, but has a nice little bit of springiness to it. So overall, heel to toe transition does feel very nice. And now moving on to the cushioning setup. So just like the V4, they are using two different types of foams, right? So they are using Fresh Foam X and also Fuel Cell foam. Here in the 2Wxy V4, this was Fresh Foam here on the lateral side in the heel, and then it kind of crosses over and it's in the forefoot on the medial side, right? And then here on the lateral side, we got Fuel Cell, and it kind of crosses over, and then we got Fuel Cell here in the heel on the medial side. So it's kind of like an X, it was a pretty interesting kind of design. And it's kind of similar here in the V5. So here in the heel, we have Fresh Foam X. And we have this pretty interesting design here in the heel on the foam. And also we have the Fresh Foam X in the ball of the foot as well, which is probably just around right here. It doesn't really expose it at all here on the medial side, so I'm guessing it's more in the middle right here where the ball of your foot is, but that's where the Fresh Foam X is. And then where kind of like this more purplish color is, that's just fuel cell, right? It says fuel cell here on the medial side, right? But yeah, as far as the cushion goes, I mean, the two-way line has been amazing for cushion, but not the best for court feel, right? So the V4, not the greatest for court feel, and same thing here in the V5. And as far as the court feel goes, it's very, very similar to the V4. Right, so not great. It's pretty dang high up off the ground here in the heel, and it does get a little bit lower here in the forefoot, but it's still kind of high up off the ground. And also because of that, there is a pretty high offset. Here in the heel, there is a good amount of compression. It is pretty dang soft. However, it does feel a little bit different and a little bit stiffer than the V4. The V4 had a good amount more compression here in the heel. It just feels a little bit softer, just a tiny bit, but the V5 is still pretty dang crazy. And as far as the step and comfort goes, the step and comfort also is very, very nice. It's super duper plush. So here for the insole, we have just kind of like a regular foam, right? It's not super thick, it's not super foamy, but it does add a little bit to the step and comfort. And then underneath that, we do have a stiffer type of strobel board, but because Fuel Cell and Fresh Foam X are very, very soft, it breaks in super duper nicely. And just walking around in it right now, it does have a very nice underfoot feel to it, especially in the heel, but also in the forefoot. You know what I mean? There's a nice little compression. Of course, it's not as soft as a shoe that uses like a soft mesh strobel board, you know, like in the Kai 1. The Kai 1 is super duper soft. However, because this shoe is very, very thick for the foam and you are kind of high up off the ground, it does feel pretty dang nice for step and comfort, right? So the cushion, very, very nice, and you're getting a lot of cushion, especially for the $120 price tag. It's just, of course, if you are a guard or you want a shoe that has very good core feel, you're not gonna get it here in the V5. But I feel like it's a pretty good trade-off. You know what I mean? It's probably gonna have really good impact protection, step and comfort's good, and you have a good amount of compression here in the heel. So there is the cushioning setup there. Moving on to the upper, so they're just using an EM material, right? And the EM is actually extremely nice. I'm very surprised at the quality. The only thing I don't like about the quality is the fuse material, right? So I don't know if you guys can see it, but the fuse is not properly glued on and it's kind of peeling up a little bit. You know what I mean? In certain parts right here, right? So that does worry me a little bit for kind of like durability, but overall the EM material is super duper nice, you know? It's very tightly woven together, and overall it's really thin, but still very soft and also pretty dang supportive. It doesn't stretch at all. Conforms your foot really well, right? Especially here in the forefoot where it bends. So that feels really nice when you're walking too. And also we have this kind of like speckle design on the fuse. And of course it'll be better for durability if you do toe drags, but it seems like it's kind of falling apart a little bit for the glue, right? And it stays pretty dang thin here in the midfoot area, but it's still like kind of glued down. It's a little bit more glued down here in the midfoot, which does add a little bit more structure and a little bit more support overall here in the midfoot. And also we have this kind of like X shape, which is pretty interesting for the overall design. And for the tongue, we have a little bit of padding. It's not super well padded, but also not super thin. I would say it's around average. And also it's not a half booty construction tongue. It's more like there's two straps on both sides of the tongue with like this synthetic material that holds it in place. So that's kind of nice, but I would prefer like a half booty construction tongue, but that's not bad. And then here in the ankle area, we actually have very minimal padding, which is pretty interesting, right? So the V4, we had an average amount of padding, you know, it felt pretty nice. But then here in the V5, it's just like, first of all, we have this like stitching, this line of stitching going around the heel, and also not that much padding. So it's not super cozy or anything, just kind of cozy on top of your foot with the tongue. And you know, of course we do have a good amount of fuse around here in the heel too. And also in the back of the heel, we have an external heel counter, which is kind of made of this foam with this New Balance logo, which is pretty interesting. It's not TPU, it's just foam. So Yeah, I really like the overall quality of the EM besides the fused material, which is kind of peeling off a little bit, it feels like. So we'll have to see on how that fares, but overall, I do love the EM, especially on foot. And now moving on to the fit. So I went up half a size because I wanted a little bit looser feeling fit. And the New Balance Two Way V5 is, it's a weird fit, right? So as far as the length goes, going up half a size, there is a little bit of length. So if you want a nice snug fit lengthwise, then definitely go true to size. However, it is a pretty narrow fit, you know, especially here where my pinky toe is and also my ring toe. It's just kind of like smushing it a little bit. So it's a little uncomfortable for the width right now, right? But I feel like, you know, with this EM, it'll probably stretch out and get a little bit looser, so I'm not too worried about that. It's not too uncomfortable. It's just a little uncomfortable, not super uncomfortable, right? And it's a little bit different from the V4. The V4, I did go up half a size as well, and it is around the same length. However, the width is not nearly as narrow, you know. My pinky toe has a little bit more breathing room. The V5 for some reason just feels a little bit more narrow to me right now. And also here in the toe box, it is kind of snug, you know what I mean? It's a pretty nice snug fit. I can curl my toes up just a tiny bit, but it's not terrible or anything, and not super snug. So overall, it's a weird fit for me. And I definitely feel like if I did go true to size, it would be way too narrow. So just be careful with that. And now moving on to the support and lockdown. Support and lockdown feels like it'll be pretty good. However, I am a little bit worried about the forefoot, right? So there's no lateral counters here in the forefoot. And this EM material does feel overall pretty supportive though. So I feel like it'll be adequate. And it kind of reminds me of like the PG6, you know what I mean? Where it's not the most supportive upper, not the most supportive overall shoe. However, it was adequate for me and adequate for most people, and I feel like the V5 is probably going to be like that. But again, I'm gonna have to test these out and see how that is. And then here in the heel, of course, we have that foam heel counter, and also the midsole coming up, acting as a sidewall here in the midfoot, and a good amount here in the heel. And lateral stability feels like it'll be very good, right? We have a very wide base, a little bit of an outrigger too, and heel lockdown surprisingly feels pretty good so far, even though there is no padding, but it does seem like it kind of cups in a good amount here in the heels, so that's probably why the heel lockdown feels pretty good. And now moving on to the weight of the shoe, I feel like, yeah, these feel a little bit heavy, like 13 something, 12.85 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. 12.85 ounces. So the average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces. So that's a little bit heavier than average, but not even that, by much. Let's check the V4. Yeah, the V4 is 11.85 ounces. So the V4 is an ounce lighter, which is a good amount of weight. And yeah, I don't know what they added for all that weight. Interesting. Maybe it's this foam kind of heel counter. I don't know. But definitely does feel a little bit heavier and also a little bit bottom heavy, especially here in the heel, just a tiny bit, you know. The weight distribution isn't super like well distributed, feels like right now. It's because like the EM material is just super thin as well. So there is the weight there. Moving on to the aesthetics, I really love it. The design of the overall shoe looks great. I love the New Balance logo with this kind of like this design on it, right? And also the midsole looks really cool with this differentiating design from the fresh foam and also the fuel cell. Just really dislike this colorway right now. I wish I got a different colorway, but tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yeah, it's feeling really good so far. The only thing I don't like about it is the fit. The fit is just kind of weird, especially for the length and how narrow it is right now. But the overall kind of traction feels really good. The cushion feels great, like all the two-way shoes have felt. The EM feels great as well, especially for the $120 price tag. So yeah, I'm very excited to try these out. I'm probably gonna play in them tomorrow, and it's feeling a little bit better than the V4s because the V4s were super duper nice. It's just the traction just wasn't top tier for me, and the V5 is feeling top tier for the traction right now. So anyways, that about concludes my first impressions look on the New Balance Two Way V5. Again, if you guys do want to cop either of these shoes, I try to leave the free link in the description box. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.